Hey everyone, today I'm going to play just a bit of Final Fantasy 15. Specifically, the new Royal Edition has come out. I know that this pack has actually added some stuff to a bunch of other chapters, but the big thing is there's a new thing for the finale. There's the Insomnia Ruins. I really can't be bothered to find the extra little cutscenes and stuff in the earlier chapters. But basically my goal here is to find out if this is actually worth, well, the price. For one, it's the most expensive DLC besides Comrades. And beyond that, it also, just going by what I've seen of it, it seems kind of like stuff that really should be in the game already. Like, the ending of Final Fantasy 15 always felt a bit rushed and kind of awkward. Like, they introduced the adult versions, well, older versions of the characters, but it only goes on for not long, like not enough to really appreciate the fact that so much time has passed. And there's also not a proper final dungeon for the game, which is, I don't know, it's weird to think about it that way because a lot of RPGs, but especially Final Fantasy, has moved away from that kind of a tradition. But even then, thinking back, like Final Fantasy 13 had a proper final dungeon and stuff like that. So it is kind of weird and kind of missing. As it stands though, it's becoming increasingly absurd how expensive Final Fantasy 15 is just to get to completion. There's still 4 more DLC packs at minimum to come out. And if those end up costing as much as this, that's going to be something like $100 of DLC? I really wish Final Fantasy 15 had just ended, honestly, at this point. 3 years of DLC is too much, and frankly, it's not good enough that they can salvage it. Like, the best end result will be taking a game that really wasn't that great when it came out and making it okay. And like, that's not the kind of thing I look at and think, yeah, that's a good use of, what would it even be, 6 years total? Never mind that teams have been held up in Final Fantasy 15's development for a really long time, something like 13 years at this point. Granted, I'm sure a lot of them have been sent to other situations. They've been sent to work on other stuff since then, but still, like, it just seems like it's time to let things go. That's the biggest thing for me. Like, if Final Fantasy 15 was disappointing in every way but had combat that was at least similar to Kingdom Hearts, then that'd be fine, honestly. That'd be great. But no, it's not. It's just this big mess. The DLC has actually made things a lot better, but still, it's not. It's just fundamentally flawed, honestly. Or what dossiers? That's another weird thing about the Royal Edition, is that some of the stuff they added really doesn't feel like something that should be as paid DLC. Like, there's dossiers, there's also first-person mode. Like, there's just weird stuff that, if it was sold on its own, I don't think anyone would bother paying for.
Home sweet home.
Yeah.
Alright, step 1, I gotta find out how this new dungeon is integrated into the final section. The trailer had stuff like, they show off Core being sacrificed, and they also have Luna at least teased to be there, so it seems pretty substantial what's happening. It's just now a matter of
course,
how much is it a retcon, how much of it is it just stuff that should have been there, how much of it is a genuinely new thing that they've come up with that adds to it, as opposed to... It's a really hard line. They're kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't. Oh, looks like this is just going to be straight into the game then. They're talking about glaives, which I know is part of the thing. They have a speech that Noctis gives. Man, status effects are really exhausting in this game. It's such a huge waste of time. Is it because I'm a frog? I just want to switch my characters, but I'm wondering if I can't do that when I'm in the future, because they're all, like, adult versions, and also Ignis is supposed to be blind, but... No, yeah, I can control them. Okay. Weird. I don't see how this works then. Oh yeah, he shoots with the R1 button. That's weird. So I wonder if Ignis is going to have the same text he does when he's not blind. I wonder if they bothered to change things up for that segment or not. This is kind of a stupid thing to ask for, but I wish it was kind of easier to see. It's so dark. It's hard to appreciate this area or see where it's supposed to go. And, I mean, the whole point is that it's supposed to be nighttime, so, like, eternal night and all that, so the idea that it would be light out is pretty stupid, but I just want to see better. So I'm not 100% sure if I'm in the segment from the start of the original version as opposed to if this is something new. I don't remember it well enough to say if this is something that was in the original or not. That's the thing, I'm not 100% clear on how integrated it is, so I guess that's what we'll find out together. Yeah, I remember this. I remember this. It's kind of weird how when you go to chapter select it reintegrates every single tutorial and all that kind of stuff. Kind of feels not worth it. Like, it's such a weird way to handle things, I guess. Like, they must basically be starting a new file, but then loading in the items and stuff you have from the normal version of the game. Like, that's why I guess you do load your save file, I guess. Weird roundabout decisions is Final Fantasy 15 in a nutshell, though, isn't it? Wait. Is this giant robot a demon, or is it just, like, why am I fighting it? Okay, let's see what's going on with Ignis. Whoa. Okay, so he's just flying around, I guess. Yeah, he has all the same stuff he had from his DLC, so it's nothing different there. I was always a big fan of how Ignis played, actually. His 3 different dagger styles are a lot more efficient than Noctis's, like, 15 weapons. I'll probably end up playing as him a lot whenever I get around to New Game Plus, although I'm not going to replay this game until all the DLC and all the patches are out, so I'll be a grown adult man with 500 children by then. Oh, I just realized they changed me out of my stupid outfits. I can't have that. That's better. Alright, now we're really good to go into this new dungeon. It is kind of awkward how the outfits can look really dumb but have really useful benefits. Like the Assassin's Creed outfit makes it so that your phasing is cheaper. That's like one of the most powerful abilities you can get. But I guess that's just what happens, especially when you have to market other people's games for them. It looks like this is the new dungeon. I think they just might have overwritten the original place, like the original version of the Insomnia Ruins entirely, and just had this instead. So that's interesting. It's a bold idea to have DLC that straight up just takes the original content and removes it.
Let's clean him up quick.
Honestly, I'm a lot more interested in finding out what happens with the new Comrades update. I enjoyed Comrades, honestly, probably more than the main game. It plays a lot better. There's not much to it, like it's just fighting enemies, but it's got just that nice element of, well, for one, there's actual attacks that can make enemies flinch, and you do things like use magic. MP actually means something besides phasing and stuff. That's another thing. They have healing spells as opposed to having the all the items you can spam in this version. It's just seems like a better thought out combat system, and it's in this random little mode that isn't going to be remembered and probably be taken offline in 2 years. That aside, I really want to get to the actual meat of this content. That's part of the weird thing, like it feels so much more like an update because of that. Wow, old core, it's a cool design though. I can't get mad at that.
Let's not get ourselves away.
But yeah, like the way they integrate it directly into the story is so weird. There's no distinction between the DLC and the not DLC, and it goes as far as the point where they've also, alongside this DLC, added a bunch of little cutscenes to the game for other chapters. And that's such a bizarre thing to do as a paid piece of content. Like, I feel like at the very least, those cutscenes should have just been patched in as opposed to being DLC. But that's just, I don't know, Final Fantasy 15's weird like that. You can't really point to anything else to say what it's done similarly. Another weird thing about this kind of content is it is clearly based around it being a person's first time through. Like, a lot of the content isn't based on the idea that you're going to be coming in with your level 120 character with all the best weapons and stuff. Like, I'm destroying these enemies, I'm just completely clobbering them.
No use hanging around. Glad you made it back.
Wait, Cora left the party? Huh?
To be back.
I've got something to show you. Follow me.
So, what brought you back to Insomnia?
We wanted to do what we could to make sure everything was in order. For the day the king returned to reclaim his rightful seat on the throne.
So that little comment right there about it being the king's rightful seat on the throne, that's honestly, I think, at least in the meta sense, the biggest problem with 15's story is that it's all preordained and set in stone, like, to the point where there are visions of the future that they changed so that the things would unfold as they did there, which makes things kind of unfocused and awkward as a result. Like, this right here is the Kingsglaive, but that's barely a thing that's even kind of touched on in the main game until now, and also with the Comrades DLC. Meanwhile, the Kingsglaive movie completely presents a different tone from the actual main game. Same kind of deal with the Brotherhood anime. It had this character stuff that is barely touched on in the game. It's like Final Fantasy 15 was a bunch of different games and no one was told the complete picture. I doubt there was a complete picture because the story is just all over the place. Like, there's all the down-to-earth road trip stuff at the start, but then it goes into a sci-fi plot about taking babies and turning them into darkness dust to make mecha soldiers. And like, there's the whole evil empire that's barely even touched on. Like, it's almost it's hilarious how the empire from Final Fantasy II, which is an NES game, well, a Famicom game, has a more in-depth emperor than this does. It's silly.
All hail the King of Light!
Yeah, I gotta say, this scene would have been a lot more impactful if I'd seen it when I was playing through the final game the first time. Now to find out what's really going on with this DLC.
So, how'd things work out with you-know-who?
The way I see it,
A gentleman.
each of the 3 party members had $5 DLC,
Look at you.
and
Just remember
their campaigns were about
the ones you love.
2 hours, I'd say, and then they have their unique gameplay styles as well as like a bonus boss and stuff like that.
You get a few
This DLC is $15, so it needs to at least add the equivalent of all 3 of those DLC packs for this one thing.
couple more.
So besides this dungeon, there's also, you can use the boat now, that was just for a cutscene originally,
Once the night
and
we'll break down the wall.
there's like some new stuff, like there's racetracks, not racetracks, but like races for your new off-road car thing. What else is there? Obviously there's like first-person mode, new cutscenes, I think there's some quests, I don't know. There's stuff. It just comes down to how much stuff. Which I'm hoping to find out, and then I'm going to make a vertical slice about this at some point. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I feel like they kind of cheaped out not having older versions of characters. Like right now they're getting away with not showing Cindy. Yeah, I keep wanting to say Sydney because that's what it should be, but they don't show older Cindy even now. They have a request from her on behalf of this generic NPC.
Lots of Imperial stragglers left. Thought I'd clean them up.
Need a hand?
Wait, Imperial stragglers?
Earn yourself a favor?
What? That doesn't even...
So you
That doesn't make any sense.
Just tell Yosef.
It's been 10 years. The Empire is gone. How do you clear up Imperial stragglers? What? Okay, I gotta do this quest and find out what's going on there. Oh, wait, I see another question mark. So maybe it's 3 quests for 3 bosses. Although, one of them is like the soldiers of yore, not soldiers, the kings of, something of yore. They're like the ancestors of Noctis, and you fight 3 of them. I gotta say, the voice acting for some of the generic NPCs in 15 are hilariously like, if not bad, at least out of place. It almost seems like the game has retconned it so that there's been more people and more battle in this place. It's weird because it used to be so abandoned originally. And honestly, I kind of like that more. I like the idea that Noctis was setting foot in Insomnia for the first time, and it was the first time anyone had in a long time. Like, I think that's better as opposed to this, where they've been apparently fighting in here for 10 years. And okay, I gotta find out what the Imperial Strike, like, which one's that? You know, honestly, this has been so simplistic, I almost feel like I should just switch over to the Ragnarok blade, which, if you don't know what that is, it's one of the parts of the season pass. It's a weapon that doesn't actually have the best stats, but what it does is it improves your warp strike to an absurd degree where it pretty much always does 9999 damage. It trivializes things so much that back when they had timed quests going, it was a banned item. You couldn't use it. And I'm like, all these little ads and stuff they have around here. It's such a huge shame that because of the Kingsglaive movie, we never get to actually go to Insomnia during a time where it's not all destroyed. That seems like it's such a valuable thing to have, and it's just not. Especially because they present this as like the dramatic return, like Noctis finally returns to his homeland after all this time, and he retakes the throne, etc., etc. That would be so much more impactful if he actually, well, no, not that he hasn't been there, but if the player had been there and could actually relate to that idea, like to understand at the very least what was lost. I think that's kind of the things that 15 relies a lot of the time on just, you have to just assume that the characters feel the way they do because that's how they're supposed to. So it's like, oh yeah, they're from this place, and if I went back to my hometown and it was destroyed, I would feel sad. But the actual context, I think, is really important, and it's just not enough. Huh, well that looks like I think that's where you fight the final boss, over there. Oh, is there more Arden stuff now?
Late, I see.
Arden.
Insomnia, the crowned city of my kingdom.
This is weird.
I bid you a warm welcome.
So they've rejiggered a lot of stuff.
What the hell's he doing?
Yeah, this is definitely going into retcon territory. Arden has this problem where... Oh wow, he even sets up a barrier around the final boss area. That's hilarious. Yeah, Arden has this problem where nothing he does actually makes sense if you think about it for 5 seconds. He's pretty much just there to be a mysterious villain, but he doesn't actually have any before and after. Like, it's just weird what he does. And if you think about it, then, like... Well, also, he has a very poorly defined power set. Like, chapter, I want to say 11, he suddenly has the power to switch his appearance with Prompto, and the game, the loading screen presents it as he used a stitch in time to do that, which is like a concept that isn't even remotely touched upon. So they just randomly bring it up there. It's just bizarre. But like time, he has the power over time. I don't know. It's weird stuff. But like the way he messes with Noctis in general, it doesn't really make a huge amount of sense. Like, he wants him to succeed, but also he fights him a lot, but also he pretends he's nice, but then he pretends he's not. And it's a gibberish motivation at the end of the day. All he really wants is revenge because he lost the title he had. He was supposed to be the King of Light or whatever, and they chose that he couldn't do that instead. So he wants Noctis to get all the power of the King of Light and then destroy him and the crystal and stuff. So, to that end, why is it that he wants to why does he even try to stop Noctis? It doesn't make any sense. He should be, if anything, helping him along. But I guess he wants him to be stronger too, but like, it's just, the things he does doesn't really facilitate that. It's, I don't know, it's not the best. Now, photos. I've always had a really hard time with the photo quests in all of the little extra stuff they've had in the 15 stuff. Like, you can manually take pictures, but I've never been able to actually get it to work. It seemed like it's easy. I've seen videos of it done, but I don't know, it never, yeah, like, oh, no, it worked this time for once. Weird.
Too bad this place has gone to ruin. There's so much history here.
One could argue history was made anew when the old wall fought off the Empire's demons.
With my dad fighting at their side.
Yeah, well, we're finally getting some actual little bits of backstory and stuff, but I wonder if they're going to be having this kind of a structure for all the future DLC. Like, they did say that it's going to be integrated more into the game as opposed to being the separate episodes like they had for the first season pass. But I don't know, like, the next one's was episode Arden, and I don't know how you can do that unless it ends up being something like, what would it be? Like, Arden goes and, like, meets up with Noctis or something, like, in midway through the game, like, oh, if you want to learn the truth about me, then something, vision quest, and then that. But then, yeah, like, I wonder if they're not going to have a playable Arden. Like, there's lots of questions, I guess. It's, that's why I feel like it's almost a waste that they're putting so much time. Where am I even going? Oh. They put so much time into trying to fix up this game, and I can't envision something where it would actually end up being as great as they think they want it to be, or even just anything good enough to be worth 3 years worth of DLC. Like, I don't know, like, there's stuff that they could have done, but the choices they've made make it so difficult now to accomplish anything, because you can't show Insomnia because of how they structured the story. You can't do anything with Luna Freya because she dies really early and on. Like, technically not early, she dies in chapter 10 out of 15, but, like, there's no room for anything else to happen unless, like, there was a DLC leak that is seemingly accurate, because one of the things it mentioned was that episode Ignis was going to be a strategy RPG type thing, and recently Square Enix out and out said that episode Ignis originally was a strategy RPG, but then they ended up changing it up. So yeah, it's basically 100% confirmed, and they mentioned that episode Luna was going to be something along the lines of Noctis and her sneaking out together while in Altitia, which I guess that could work. Like, that could be kind of functional in terms of getting them to actually have some character interaction beyond just talking about the prophecies and stuff like that, because that's the biggest shame with Luna, is that she doesn't have a character. She's just like, every scene with her is just her talking about the star and the light and the prophecy and the king and how she's going to help him and stuff, and they don't have enough down-to-earth common interests to have chemistry. So if episode Luna could do something like that, that could actually be pretty good. But it should have been in the game. Like, it's such a core part of it. And then the other thing would be Regis. And Regis is even harder to work in the game because he dies in like an hour into the game. And also he died in the movie off screen as opposed to in the game where it should actually have the impact. Like, they made so many bizarre and bad choices with 15 that make it so difficult to work with, so that they have to do weird retconning stuff. Like, episode Ignis literally has an alternate ending, a happier ending with Ignis not going blind and Ravis surviving and meeting up with Noctis, and also just things being happier in general. And I feel like that's almost like what they're going to have to do going forward, is just like, oh yeah, no, let's have an alternate reality where actual cool, good ideas can happen.
Hit it, Gladio.
I don't know. It is interesting to see, at least, I guess, but I just, it's so hard to care. Like, I'm at the end of the day only playing this because I made a stupid promise to myself that I would cover this DLC for my channel. Literally, I told myself, oh, I'll cover the season pass and then I'll replay the game once that's all done and do a second review and talk about how much it's changed and stuff. Not knowing that I was going to end up being locked in for 3 years. I really wish I could stay changed when I go to a different character. I'd probably switch to characters more if I could just stay as, for example, Gladio. Although honestly, it seems like I should be staying as Ignis. He seems like the best overall character. Oh, I didn't even notice I'm out of health. Good thing I have to use one of my 94 Phoenix downs. Don't know if I could have survived. Yeah, no, I gotta say, it is nice seeing all this extra art, but I can barely see it. It's all red and black. One of the things I really appreciate by playing as other characters is that they all have super moves. Like, Episode Dusk Guy, which I actually randomly got access to a bit ago, had these extra moves you could use by pressing triangle that were tied to the different weapon types. And that's really distractingly missing from the main game. Like, I don't know why. I'm assuming, like, honestly at this point I wouldn't be surprised if a patch came along and just added abilities for Noctis to use based on his weapons. But it's so weird that it's not there, because all these party members now have all these cool extra moves they can do, and you, the main character, can't. That's part of the reason why I think they play better. Oh, new boss time? Ooh, it's a Cerberus, I think. Yeah. These were in the Omen trailer, but then just never showed up, which is another weird thing. So this is one of the new bosses. So that'll be neat. Hope it's... I think I'm too powerful. That sucks. Not that the bosses in Final Fantasy 15 were ever super thrilling, but... Oh wow, I can summon already? Why can I summon already? I can't even see. I'm assuming, like, is Shiva gonna show up? I think Shiva's gonna show up. Oh no, Ramu. Okay. Something that's cool, you can actually see a lot of the city when you get a summon, which is why it's pretty neat when it actually happens. I never got around to it when I first played, but I've seen videos of it. And there's so much cityscape to design that's really cool to see. I'm not sure why I can use a summon though, but... Okay, and now I can, oh, did I just win? And now it's gonna be going to a cutscene? What happened? Oh, this is really awkward.
That's one hell of a path.
Oh, was I not supposed to be able to win?
Too late to ask Arden to call off his dog.
Oh, that's really mismatched. Oh no.
Damn, it's got us trapped.
It really doesn't. I destroyed it so hard. Oh.
Let's finish this already.
And now they're gonna be like, oh, then Core comes in and saves you, and that's so... Oh. But no, like... Oh, that couldn't have been more mistimed. Why would they let that happen? That's so stupid. Ah.
Any last words?
Oh hey, this is the boss theme from episode Prompto, I think. That's neat. Getting more use of it.
Move it or lose it.
I can't see. Yeah, no, this doesn't work as a super tough enemy that Arden needs to call off. I'm sorry. This is poorly thought out. Oh, I should be using Ignis, because he as ice swords. It's the perfect crown. I can't get over how this is such a simple boss. It's so stupid that oh. They should have at least made it so you can't get a summon, right? Like this isn't just me, is it? No, there he goes.
Maybe the King of Kings really is as almighty as they say.
So, like, is the core sacrifice, did I just change the timeline and he doesn't die now, or what?
Looks like there's no way past the wall.
Okay.
There's way too many of them.
And no way out of this either.
See, like, Arden doesn't want Noctis to die, though, so why would he send that many enemies after him? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Oh, here it is, the Luna part! Why is she here?
Gods above, hear my plea. Lend the chosen king your strength,
Wow, she just shows up? Okay.
that he may save our star from darkness blight.
I mean, it does make sense to finally bring her back,
The
though.
heavens. By the will of the oracle and the grace of the gods, a path for the king is made.
Okay. What's this? Oh, is this gonna be the super armager? Oh, no, it's just Ramu again. Okay. I wanted the super armager, honestly. I just used Ramu. Oh, so it's a super summon. It's all the summons. The biggest summons. So where's the rest of them? Well, that's a cool visual. I actually really like that. So just need Titan now. Of course, I'd like it if Bahamut was here too. Yeah, can't fault this though. This is pretty cool. That's all that Luna was here for, I guess? Oh. Wow, it even takes Bahamut to do it. So Arden could just make this barrier that literally takes all the gods teaming up to actually deal with. That's absurd. This must be where the entire budget for the DLC went. And then Arden just shows up and makes another barrier.
Luna. Thank you.
The fate of our star rests with you now, my king.
Talk about divine intervention.
Oh, feels good to know the gods are fighting on our side.
They've entrusted the future to you, Noct.
Yeah. Wouldn't want to let him down now.
Alright, so while Noctis goes off to die again, I'm gonna just keep playing around with this DLC some more. You can look forward to a vertical slice on it pretty soon.